He's considered the greatest mixed martial artist of all time. Undefeated in competition, youngest UFC champion in history at 23, dominated an entire division so completely that he ran out of challengers. But Jon Jones didn't become the greatest through traditional training methods. His approach was chaos disguised as genius, unconventional techniques that coaches said were wrong, a creativity that couldn't be taught, and a willingness to fight dirty in ways that stayed just inside the rules. This is how Jon Jones really trained. Welcome to Loving Fighters. Jones grew up in Endicott, New York. His father was a pastor. His older brother Arthur played defensive end in the NFL. His younger brother Chandler also made it to the NFL. The family was athletic. Football was the expected path. Jones played in high school and was good at it, but wrestling was where he stood out. He started wrestling young and showed immediate talent. By high school, he was dominant. New York State champion his senior year, earned a scholarship to Iowa Central Community College, where he won a national junior college championship in 2006. He had the skills to wrestle at a Division I program, maybe compete for an NCAA title. But he got his girlfriend pregnant during his freshman year and needed money fast. MMA was the answer. Quick paydays compared to the long road of amateur wrestling and hoping for coaching jobs afterward. Jones had his first professional fight in 2008 at 20 years old, won by submission in the first round. He looked raw, but the athleticism was obvious. Long arms, quick hips, natural instincts for distance and timing. He trained at Jackson Wink MMA in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Greg Jackson and Mike Winklejohn ran one of the best camps in the sport. They'd produced champions before. Georges St. Pierre trained there sometimes. Rashad Evans was already there and would become a rival. Keith Jardine, Nate Marquardt. The gym had high-level training partners across weight classes and coaches who understood how to develop fighters from prospects into champions. Jackson's approach was analytical. He studied opponents obsessively, broke down film for hours, found patterns and tendencies, then built specific game plans to exploit weaknesses. It wasn't enough to be good. You had to be good in the right ways against the right opponents. Every fight was a puzzle with a specific solution. Winklejohn handled the striking development. He had a background in kickboxing and understood how to build power and timing. But he also recognized when to let fighters develop their own style instead of forcing them into boxes that didn't fit. Jones was different from the start. He didn't fit the templates coaches used for most fighters. His body was wrong for traditional technique. 6 feet 4 inches tall with an 84-inch reach. Those proportions were freakish for light heavyweight. His arms were so long that standard boxing combinations didn't work naturally. The angles were wrong. The timing was off. His legs were so long that normal kicking technique looked awkward. When he threw round kicks the way coaches taught, they looked sloppy and slow. Coaches who tried to teach him orthodox form got frustrated. Jones kept doing things wrong according to the textbooks. He'd throw punches with his chin up. He'd kick with improper hip rotation. He'd leave his hands low when he should keep them high. But when he did these things his way, they worked. Opponents got hit. Kicks landed. The wrong technique produced right results. Jackson recognized this early. Instead of forcing Jones into conventional technique that would never fit his body, he built around what Jones could do naturally. The unorthodox became the game plan. The wrong became right because Jones made it right with his specific physical gifts. A technique that would get most fighters knocked out worked for Jones because his reach meant he was too far away to get countered. The training approach had several key elements that made Jones different from everyone else. First, the creative striking. Jones threw techniques that didn't exist in traditional MMA. Spinning elbows from the clinch, oblique kicks to the knee that looked like he was trying to end careers, downward elbows that came over the top of guards, shoulder strikes from the clinch that shouldn't do damage but somehow did. He'd watch old fights from Pride FC in Japan and obscure kickboxing footage, find techniques nobody used anymore, then drill them until they became weapons. The spinning back elbow became his signature. He'd throw it in combinations when opponents expected a punch. It came from an angle they'd never trained to defend. Watch the Stephan Bonnar fight. Jones spins and lands an elbow that drops Bonnar instantly. Nobody threw that technique at light heavyweight. Jones made it routine. The oblique kick was controversial. A pushing kick aimed at the opponent's knee. It hyperextended joints. It ended mobility. Critics called it dirty, said it was designed to injure. Jones kept using it because it worked. It kept opponents at distance, made them hesitate to come forward, changed how they moved for the rest of the fight. Rampage Jackson complained about it. So did other opponents. Jones didn't care. If it was legal, he'd use it. He'd drill these unusual techniques endlessly, not just throwing them on bags, but setting them up in sparring, finding the right moments, building the timing. By fight night, techniques that looked improvised were actually programmed responses to specific situations. Second, the wrestling integration. Jones came from a wrestling background but didn't fight like a typical wrestler. Most wrestlers in MMA use their skills defensively first. Stay standing, stuff takedowns, control where the fight happens. Jones used wrestling offensively and creatively. He'd throw opponents around, slam them, trip them with techniques that looked like judo but came from his wrestling base. His takedowns came from unusual setups. He'd throw a spinning elbow, then shoot while opponents were confused. He'd clinch against the cage, then hit trips and throws. He'd use that ridiculous reach to snap opponents down into front headlocks. The wrestling served the striking, and the striking served the wrestling. They weren't separate skills. They were one system. In training, they drilled transitions constantly. Stand up to clinch, clinch to takedown to ground and pound back to standing. The goal was never letting opponents settle into any position. Keep them guessing, keep them reacting, never let them impose their game. Third, the distance management. This was maybe his biggest advantage, and they trained it specifically. Jones's reach was freakish. 84 inches at light heavyweight when most opponents had reaches in the mid-70s. He could hit you from distances where you couldn't hit him back. Traditional MMA training doesn't account for this. Most fighters learn distance based on normal human proportions. Jackson had Jones drill distance obsessively, finding the exact range where his jab landed, but opponents couldn't reach him. Using that long lead hand to measure distance and control the pace. The front kick to the body became a rangefinder. The oblique kick kept opponents from entering. The teep pushed them back when they got close. Every technique designed to maintain the distance where Jones had advantage and opponents had none. In sparring, they'd work with training partners of different heights and reaches. Jones needed to understand how to adjust against shorter fighters with less reach and taller fighters who might match his length. The goal was making distance management automatic, reading range instantly, knowing exactly when to fire and when to retreat. Fourth, the clinch work. Most fighters hate the clinch. It's tiring. It's grinding. It neutralizes athleticism. Jones made the clinch into a weapon. He'd grab opponents in collar ties and elbow them, throw short knees to the body, hit shoulder strikes that accumulated damage. He'd dirty box with short punches while controlling their posture. The clinch let him use his length differently. Those long arms wrapped around opponents and controlled their movement. That height let him change angles from above. Training partners said clinching with Jones was exhausting. He was always moving, always threatening, always making you carry weight. They drilled clinch sequences constantly. Entry to clinch, control positions, strikes from the clinch, takedowns from the clinch, disengages when he wanted out. The clinch became a position where Jones could rest while opponents worked. He'd lean on them, make them carry his weight, throw occasional damage while they struggled to breathe. Fifth, the ground and pound. When Jones took opponents down, he didn't look for submissions. He looked to inflict damage. His ground and pound was vicious and calculated. Long arms raining down elbows. Using the cage to pin opponents and create angles for strikes. Standing up in opponents' guards to drop hammer fists. They trained this with specific positioning. Where to place the knee to prevent escapes. How to posture up without giving space. When to stand and drop strikes versus when to stay tight and grind. The ground became another place where Jones could hurt you. Not a position to survive, but a position to attack from. Sixth, the fight IQ development. Jackson is known for strategic game planning. Every opponent got specific study. They'd watch hours of film together, identify tendencies, find patterns that opponents probably didn't even know they had, recognize tells that predicted what was coming, build a game plan around exploiting those specific holes. Jones absorbed this approach completely and added his own analytical mind to it. Before the Mauricio Rua fight for the title, they identified that Rua was hittable with straight punches up the middle. His head movement was limited. He tended to shell up against pressure. Jones drilled that entry for weeks. Straight punches down the pipe while pressing forward. In the fight, he walked Rua down and finished him in the third round with exactly those strikes. The game plan executed perfectly. Before the Rampage Jackson fight, they identified that Rampage struggled in the clinch. His wrestling was limited. He got tired when forced to work in close. Jones clinched him constantly and dominated with elbows and knees. Rampage had no answers. The preparation had predicted exactly what would happen. Before the Machida fight, they knew Machida liked to counter. He wanted opponents to come forward recklessly so he could time them. Jones refused to play that game. He pressured with low kicks and oblique kicks, took Machida down when he could, never gave Machida the wild entries he wanted to counter. By the second round, Machida was fighting Jones's fight. The choke came shortly after. Every fight had a specific plan. Not just general strategies like use your reach, but exact techniques for exact situations. Jones would know before the fight started what his opponent would try to do and what he would do in response. If the opponent adjusted, Jones had backup plans. The preparation was obsessive and detailed. Seventh, the conditioning work. Jones trained his cardio through fighting, not through running or cycling alone. Long sparring sessions at high intensity. Wrestling drills that mimicked the energy demands of actual scrambles. Pad work that simulated championship rounds with late surges when he should be tired. The philosophy was sport-specific conditioning. Build cardio through the actual movements you'll use in fights. They did have general conditioning work, running, strength training, flexibility work, but the primary cardio development came through MMA training. If you want to be able to fight hard for 25 minutes, you train by fighting hard for 25 minutes, not by running for an hour and hoping it transfers. This showed in his performances. Jones rarely looked tired even in 5-round championship fights against elite competition. When opponents started fading in the 4th round, Jones looked fresh. His pace would increase while theirs decreased. In the Gustafsson fight, after taking real damage for 3 rounds, Jones came back strong in the championship rounds. That durability came from training that mimicked actual fight demands. His body knew how to perform when tired because it had done it countless times in training. The results were unprecedented in MMA history. Jones got to the UFC in 2008. By 2011, at 23 years old, he was the youngest champion in UFC history. He beat Shogun Rua for the light heavyweight title and never lost it in competition. Not once. He defended it against everyone who challenged. The list reads like a Hall of Fame. Rampage Jackson, one of the biggest names in the sport. Knockout power. Pride FC legend. Jones clinched him, elbowed him, submitted him in the 4th round. Rampage looked helpless. Lyoto Machida, unorthodox karate stylist who had knocked out the previous champion. Elusive and dangerous. Jones pressured him, took him down, choked him unconscious in the 2nd round. Rashad Evans, his former teammate. Bad blood between them. Jones dominated every second, won every round, took the decision easily. Vitor Belfort, dangerous power, fast hands. Jones nearly got caught with an armbar, survived, then broke Belfort with a nasty elbow that opened a gash requiring stitches. Finished him in the 4th. Chael Sonnen, elite wrestler, incredible pressure. Jones weathered the storm and submitted him in the 1st round with a unique arm triangle setup. Alexander Gustafsson, the toughest fight of his career until that point. Gustafsson had the size to match Jones and pushed him harder than anyone had. Jones took damage but won a close decision through heart and adjustments in the championship rounds. Daniel Cormier, twice, an Olympic wrestler and former heavyweight champion. One of the best to ever compete. Jones out-wrestled him in both fights, beat him up on the feet, won definitively both times. The 2nd fight ended with a head kick knockout. The list continued. Glover Teixeira, Ovince St. Preux, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, Dominic Reyes. Every style got solved. Wrestlers got out-wrestled. Strikers got picked apart at range. Grapplers got controlled and beaten up. Power punchers got kept at distance. Quick fighters got clinched and ground down. Nobody found an answer that worked for 5 rounds. Watch the Rampage fight. Rampage was a knockout artist with heavy hands. Jones clinched him repeatedly, threw elbows and knees, submitted him in the 4th round. Watch the Machida fight. Machida was an elusive counter-striker. Jones pressured him, took him down, choked him unconscious. Watch the Daniel Cormier fights. Cormier was an Olympic wrestler and former heavyweight champion. Jones out-wrestled him and beat him up standing. The adaptability was the key. Jones could fight any style because his training prepared him for everything. He had weapons at every range, tools for every situation, and the IQ to know which tool to use when. So what made Jones's training approach work when similar approaches failed for others? First, the physical gifts. Jones has one of the most unusual bodies in MMA history. That 84-inch reach at light heavyweight is absurd. Most heavyweights don't have that wingspan. It let him fight from distances where opponents couldn't respond. His frame carried muscle without sacrificing speed. His hips were quick from wrestling. His chin held up against power punchers. You can't train those attributes. He was born with them. The training maximized these gifts instead of forcing him into standard technique. A different coach might have tried to make Jones fight like everyone else. Jackson let him fight like Jon Jones. The techniques were designed around his specific body. The distance work exploited his reach. The clinch work used his length. Everything built to amplify what he already had. Second, the wrestling base. Starting as a wrestler gave Jones advantages that strikers who learn wrestling later can't match. His hips moved correctly from childhood. His balance was trained through thousands of hours on the mat. He understood leverage instinctively. When he shot takedowns, they came from real wrestling, not MMA wrestling drilled for a few years. That base let him train other skills faster. He already knew how to move. He already understood body positioning. Adding striking and submissions to that base was easier than building wrestling from scratch while also learning everything else. Third, the coaching relationship. Greg Jackson understood how to develop Jones specifically. He didn't apply a generic system. He built a custom approach for this specific athlete with these specific gifts. That kind of individualized development is rare. Most gyms have a style they teach everyone. Jackson had principles but applied them uniquely to Jones. The film study, the game planning, the creative technique development, all of it served Jones's specific needs. When Jones wanted to drill something unusual, Jackson found ways to make it work instead of dismissing it as impractical. Fourth, the training environment. Jackson Wink had high-level training partners across multiple weight classes. Jones could spar with heavyweights to prepare for power, with light heavyweights who matched his competition, with middleweights who were faster. The variety built adaptability. The gym culture encouraged creativity. Fighters shared techniques. Coaches collaborated. New ideas got tested instead of rejected. That environment let Jones develop tools that wouldn't exist in more traditional camps. Fifth, the mental edge. Jones had confidence that bordered on arrogance. He believed he was the best before he'd proven it. That belief carried him through hard training and hard fights. When things got difficult, he expected to win anyway. That expectation affected how he performed under pressure. He also had a mean streak that showed in fights, the willingness to use techniques that hurt opponents, the eye pokes that plagued his career, the oblique kicks, the cage grinding. He fought to win and didn't care much about how it looked. That mentality was part of why he dominated. He'd do whatever it took. The controversies can't be ignored. Jones has failed drug tests, been stripped of the title for issues outside the cage, had legal problems that suspended his career. Critics say his legacy is tainted. Supporters say he never lost in competition, and the drug issues don't explain his dominance. That debate continues. What's undeniable is that his training approach produced results nobody else matched. The creative striking, the wrestling integration, the distance management, the clinch work, the ground and pound, the fight IQ. All of it came together to create a fighter who solved every puzzle the division presented. Elements of his style influenced the next generation. Fighters started using oblique kicks more. The spinning back elbow became more common. Distance management got more attention in coaching. The idea of building around individual gifts instead of forcing standard techniques spread through the sport, but nobody replicated the complete package. The physical attributes were too specific. The coaching relationship was too customized. The combination of wrestling base and creative striking development was too unusual. Jones was a unique case. His training approach worked because it was built for him specifically. The move to heavyweight at the end of his career showed the system still worked. He beat Cyril Gane for the heavyweight title in 2023. Different weight class, bigger opponents, same result. The distance management transferred, the wrestling transferred, the IQ transferred. Jones at heavyweight looked like Jones at light heavyweight, older but still effective. The footage from his prime shows what the training produced. Watch him against Gustafsson in the first fight, both men throwing everything. Jones finding answers when he was hurt, winning a close fight through adjustments. That's the fight IQ in action. Watch him against Cormier, an Olympic wrestler getting controlled on the feet and on the ground by someone who started wrestling in high school. That's the technique development working. Jon Jones trained to be unpredictable, to have answers for everything, to use his physical gifts to maximum effect, to fight mean when necessary and technical when possible. Greg Jackson provided the framework. Jones provided the raw material and the work ethic. Together, they built the most successful career in MMA history. The greatest of all time debate will continue, but the training approach that created Jon Jones produced results nobody has matched. Undefeated in competition, champion in 2 weight classes, dominant for over a decade, built in a gym in Albuquerque through methods that looked wrong but worked anyway. Let me know in the comments what you think about Jones's training. Thank you for watching Loving Fighters.